Okay, we are at 10 o'clock, so I will start. Welcome, everyone. My name is Lorraine Crow, and I'm the Director of Grants and Community Initiatives here at the Community Foundation of Mississauga. We are so pleased that you took your time to join us today. It is vitally important to us that we continue to receive strong grant applications that meet the needs of the Mississauga residents you serve. Before we provide information to you on our grant opportunities for 2023, please allow me to make this statement on behalf of the Community Foundation of Mississauga. We begin our session today by acknowledging that the land on which we gather and on which the region of Peel operates is part of the treaty lands of the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous people inhabited and cared for this land. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe, Chippewa peoples, and the land on home to the Métis, the most recently the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are truly indebted to all First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples with whom we share this land, and we pledge that we will seek ways to support and help Indigenous peoples achieve the 94 calls to action, which were issued by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and do so in a timely manner. We call on all various levels of government to not just pay lip service with land acknowledgements, but to continue to address the inequities that the Indigenous peoples face on a daily basis and allow them to take their rightful place on these lands. We also acknowledge the systemic discrimination that many groups face who call their home. They came here to seek a better life or to broaden their horizons, but because of the color of their skin, their religion, or some other characteristics, they are subject to discrimination. Let us commit to respect and uplift each other, to tear down the barriers of prejudice, discrimination, and hatred, and let us resolve to love ourselves and each other to build a just society for all. Thank you for taking this time to allow us at the Community Foundation of Mississauga to express these sentiments to you. With great sadness, the city of Mississauga is mourning the passing of Hazel McCallion. Over the past few years, after the past few weeks, I have reflected joyfully on the many times that I have met her, as many of you have. And we are all fortunate to have benefited from her courageous leadership. On behalf of the Community Foundation of Mississauga, we wish to thank Hazel, as we have had the privilege of being the guardians of the Hazel Foundation Fund, the Hazel McCallion Arts, Culture, and Heritage Fund. We have carefully granted over $1.3 million to over 150 charitable organizations in her name. We are truly honored to keep her legacy alive, supporting children and the arts, culture, and heritage community in Mississauga. Finally, we express our deepest condolences to her family and many friends, and promise to continue the goodwill she started for this community. Okay, so now let's get started and look at the agenda for today. Now, Glenn Gomulka, President and CEO, will be speaking to you shortly about our foundation and the opportunities for endowment matching. Mohsen Kamal, Coordinator of Grants and Community Initiatives, will talk to you about our new Community GLM database and the CHCI grant rounds we are working on with the Community Foundations of Canada. I will be walking you through the granting process, timelines, vital signs, frequently asked questions, etc., etc. For a few housekeeping items, all your microphones are on mute and videos are turned off, as this session will be recorded and posted on our website for future reference. Please take a moment to greet your colleagues in the chat and post your questions in the Q&A section of your Zoom portal. Okay, Glenn, would you like to tell us about the Community Foundation?
Thank you, Lorraine. Thanks for the introduction this morning. It's a real pleasure to be here this morning. Thank you all for joining us. Granting season is always the most exciting time at the foundation, so we're very excited to walk through this year's granting session. It's doubly exciting this year because, as Lorraine mentioned, we're launching our new granting portal, which we hope is going to make the process more streamlined and a much more improved and streamlined process for all of you who will be submitting applications. So we're super excited to launch that this year as well. So many of you I know are already very familiar with the foundation, but maybe for some of those who are less familiar, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to go through a little bit of background about the foundation, talk to you about a new matching program that we're offering this year, and then I'm going to hand things back over to Mohsen and Lorraine to get to the meat of the discussion for this morning. So the Community Foundation of Mississauga is part of a large network of community foundations across Canada. There's over 200 of us. The national scope of our network means, as Lorraine already alluded to, that we're able to bring federal granting programs right here locally in Mississauga, and so we help to facilitate those. We've delivered the COVID relief program, the investment readiness program, the Canadian Healthy Community Initiatives program, and we're now in the middle of intake for the Community Services Recovery Fund, which we're going to talk about at the end, and I encourage many of you to look at that application process, and hopefully you'll be submitting applications for that grant call as well. So while we do have a national focus, we also obviously are very locally focused. And through our vital signs report and some of the vital conversations that we're also in the middle of delivering right now, we really try and get to a very clear understanding of the needs in our community. And to that end, we've granted a little over $22 million in grant funding in Mississauga since 2001. So just in terms of how the foundation works, this is the magic of the Community Foundation. Everything starts with our donors, and a donor can be anybody who makes a one-time contribution to the foundation, either online or comes in and visits our office and makes a donation. They might be someone who makes a recurring donation. They could be somebody who opens a fund in their name, maybe in memory of somebody or to mark an important time in their life. They open a fund that supports a particular cause or a particular charity that they feel strongly about. And then sometimes we even have donors who create an entire granting stream, such as the Hazel McCallion Fund for Arts, Culture, and Heritage. Regardless of who the donor is or how large their donation is, our role here is to really connect donors with charities that are delivering the programs that are near and dear to their heart, and to make sure that the funds flow to the most important areas of need in our community. Once donors make contributions, the foundation accumulates or pools all of those donations together, and we invest them. And those investments generate income, which we use for granting. So the initial donations are never touched. We preserve them in perpetuity, and literally every donation that's made to the foundation will generate grants that support charities into the future in perpetuity. The community impact that we have, we measure in a variety of ways. We measure it through the partnerships that we build, the local knowledge and resources that we produce, and also the cumulative granting that we generate over time. Moving on to our vital signs. So Lorraine talked about our vital signs already a little bit. Our vital signs report is available on our website. I encourage all of you to review the vital signs. We have some vital conversations, and you can find the dates for those on our website as well if you'd like to attend those vital conversations. Vital signs is really a snapshot of the health of our community and where the opportunities are to make our community stronger. And of course, we tie our granting dollars to those vital indicators. So as you're preparing your grant applications, please refer to the vital signs report and demonstrate to us how your grant project will help to deliver against those vital indicators, because that's where we're looking to flow the grant dollars. So it's a very valuable resource to you as grant applicants, and I encourage you again to download the report and review it before submitting your grant applications. In terms of our grants, we're going to focus a lot. This session will focus almost entirely on the open application streams, which we'll be talking about today, which are the Smart and Caring Children and Youth Fund, the Hazel McCallion Fund for Arts, Culture, and Heritage, the Pendle Fund, and the Novo Nordisk Fund for Diabetes and Obesity. So those are all project application funding streams. So you can submit applications for project funding. And I'm not going to go into those because I'll leave that to Lorraine and Mohsen. But we also, at the foundation, we have a number of tools available to us that can assist with unrestricted funding for charitable organizations as well. So a donor can create what's called a donor designated fund, where they open a fund and they designate the granting for a specific charity or a group of charities. and that granting will flow to those charities in perpetuity. It's an automatic grant that happens every year. So if you are the recipient of a designated fund, you know that you get a grant every year through those funds. Similar to a designated fund is a donor advised fund, and this is where a donor consults with the foundation every year, and they talk to us about where the needs are in the community and where they would like to place their granting dollars. And they do flow automatically to charities, but the donor has the option to choose which charities they want to designate their funding for on an annual basis. And the third type of endowed fund is a charitable endowment. And any charity can create an endowed fund with the foundation. It can be created with a small donation. You can grow it over time and encourage your donors to build that for you. And it's like having your own foundation that supports your charity on an annual basis. So all of the granting that would come out of a charitable endowed fund flows back to the charity that created the fund. And it creates a long-term source of reliable discretionary funding for you. I'm really excited to let everybody know that our board of directors has approved some matching funding. So for the first 10 charities that start a new charitable endowed fund with the foundation, with your first $5,000 that you donate towards your charitable fund, we'll match that with a $5,000 match. So it's really encouraging each of you to consider creating a charitable endowed fund with the foundation, and we really want to help you get that fund up and running. There is a link, I think, that we're going to post in the chat for more information about charitable endowed funds. And I encourage everyone, if you're interested in this or you have questions, please reach out to me directly. I'd love to have a conversation with you about how they work and how we can help you set one up. With that, I'm going to hand things back over to Mohsen to talk about our granting for this year. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Glenn. As a lot of you are aware, for the 2023 grant cycle, we have a new application system. We'll be using the Community GLM Granting Portal from now on, and that will be the vehicle for the entire application process in the future. We will no longer accept PDF applications or any other documents by email as we've done in the past. We held a new database information session in December where I demonstrated the Community GLM Granting Portal. The recording is available on our website under the helpful webpage. You'll see the link pop up in the chat now shortly. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you'll see the YouTube video. We highly encourage you to watch the demonstration if you're not familiar with the granting portal or if you just want to refresh your memory. With the implementation of this new granting portal, all forms and communications will be centralized, and we're hoping it will provide for a seamless and efficient grant application procedure. The granting portal is live, and we have created a new web page on our website called How to Apply, which explains the steps for the new application process and provides access to the portal. The link is also provided in the chat section. Please visit the How to Apply webpage to see the application steps, and we encourage you to create an account on the portal and set up your profile. This way you will also be able to preview the applications, but just keep in mind not to enter responses when you're in preview mode, as the answers will not be saved. So that's very important. Please wait for the applications to open on February 22nd and do not populate anything before that. And with that, I will hand it back over to Lorraine.
Okay, great. Thanks, Mohsen, and thanks, Glenn, for all that great information. Okay, so let's get down to what's happening in 2023 in the granting round. As Mohsen mentioned, our grant round opens on February the 22nd, which is just next week at 8 a.m. So again, go into your portal and create your profile. And then on February 22nd, you'll be able to start putting in the data for your application. As Mohsen mentioned, you can download a copy of the application and start looking at it right away, but it won't go live until February 22nd. And then we have a hard close. So our grant periods goes from February 22nd to March 24th. And at 5 o'clock on March 24th, the grant round will close, and that's a hard close. You can't try to sneak something in at 5:01. It's not going to work. Remember, you're not emailing me anymore and trying to send me extra documents. I can't even really check and let you know that you've missed something. So just really pay attention to all the attachments that you have to have. and make sure that they're all in well before that 5 o'clock on March 24th. When I was grant writing, I would always put in my calendar 2 or 3 days before the actual deadline. You should try to do the same thing. March 22nd is a good deadline for you. Try not to go to that 5 o'clock. You know how computers are and things just happen. Don't be caught in that mess. Even though March 24th, 5 o'clock is the deadline, try to get it in before that so you won't have any technical issues, especially on your end, because the system will shut down at 5 o'clock. So just a word of warning. Okay, then what happens is there's deliberation time. So we meet with our committees. We're going to be reading every word of every application that comes in, and there's a lot of them that come in. So that takes some time. Then our committee meets, and then they start to make decisions. So that's our deliberation timeline, is the month of April, really. Okay, then you will get a notice of approval or decline in the month of May. So that's basically our timeline for 2023. All right, now eligibility for granting round. Now to look at, this is all going to be on our website as well, or sorry, on our portal. So the portal, previously in the old style of the PDF, you had an overview that was a separate document, and then you had the grant application. Everything is in one section now. So you'll see all the overview. So it's going to give you the organization eligibility, and you'll look at that as you're starting to complete your application. So pay attention to those things. But generally, registered charity, you have to be a registered charity to apply for any of the grants. Now, you can be a not-for-profit partnering with a registered charity, but a registered charity has to be the lead, okay? There are some situations where 2 registered charities come in as partners, and that's okay too. But remember, one of them has to be a registered charity as the lead, okay? You have to be Mississauga-based and having impact in Mississauga. We are the Community Foundation of Mississauga, so we're Mississauga-focused. It doesn't mean if you have a head office in Toronto, but you're doing work in Mississauga, then that's okay. But make sure that you identify how many people in Mississauga you're affecting by your project, okay? You have to have a good standing with CRAs. So that's part of the deliberation process. We're going to be looking at all your financials. Not only will you be giving us a financial statement with your application and a budget, your current budget for this year and a budget for the actual project, but we will also go into your CRA profiles and make sure that your organization is in good standing. Okay. Previous grant reporting obligations must be met. So if you received a grant in 2022, and we're so excited because everybody that received a grant in 2022 and was required to give a report has done so. So thank you for being on time. That was the end of January. And we've received all the reports. So that's generally what has to happen, is you cannot apply for a new grant in 2023 unless you filed your report in 2022, and we're so pleased that everybody has done that. Okay, ineligible projects. Okay, again, delivered outside of Mississauga, we're Mississauga focused. So if you're delivering projects in Brampton, Caledon, Toronto, then they would not be able to be funded from us. Fundraising or campaigning events and salaries in support of them are not eligible. Political or religious activities are not eligible. Let me just caveat, if you're a religious organization, you can apply for a grant as long as you don't, you're servicing obviously people in Mississauga, and there's no religious doctrine being taught in that particular project. Okay, so for instance, if you're a religious organization that has a food bank, that's okay, you can apply. Okay, but it's no political or religious activities are ineligible. Sponsorships, scholarships, and bursaries are ineligible. Ongoing operating expenses are ineligible, and retroactive funding for any project expenses. Okay, so if you have a project that's continuing and you're filing a grant application for a project for 2023, you cannot have expenses, obviously, from a previous year in your grant. And incurred, so the project expenses incurred prior to the foundation's decision date. Okay. Now, our grant application stream, as Glenn mentioned, we have a number of streams, which are 4 of them that we're presenting today. And this is our open grant application streams. The first one is Pendle. Pendle has a wide variety of causes for organizations. For those of you that are familiar with applying for Pendle grants, they deal with arts and culture, children and youth, community education, environment, health, human services, neighborhood projects, sports, recreation. They have a whole bunch of things that you can apply for. And these are grants anywhere between $5,000 and $30,000. Okay. The Hazel McCallion Fund for Arts, Culture, and Heritage is exactly what it says. Okay, so this is a grant application for projects in the art, culture, and heritage sector for Mississauga. This is something Hazel felt very strongly about, and we've been very proud to be able to continue this in her legacy. The grants offered in this particular grant fund are up to $10,000. The next one is the Smart and Caring Children and Youth Fund, and it is exactly what it says. It's grants that relate to children and youth. And it can be a wide number of things. It can be after school programs, summer camps, mental health programming, youth leadership and employment program, a number of different things, but they have to have children and youth as the focus. Okay, and these are smaller grants and a maximum of $3,000. We are again happy to partner with Novo Nordisk Diabetes for the Novo Nordisk Diabetes and Obesity Fund. This is our third year working with Novo Nordisk. We're a very proud partnership. And these are grants that are maximum of $15,000. The focus of these grants, again, is tackling the rise of type 2 diabetes. And these can be a number of different projects. Again, diabetes affects a lot of Black, African, Caribbean, and South Asian communities. It's certainly elevated risks, but you can also put in a grant for other types of populations that are also dealing with type 2 diabetes, and make sure that your project is helping combat this terrible disease. So that's the Novo Nordisk Diabetes and Obesity Fund, and the grants offered are to a maximum of $15,000. Okay, Glenn mentioned, and I also mentioned just the vital signs report. Again, you can take a look at our website and look at that snapshot of our city. We do this report, it's an extensive report, and we do it every couple of years. You'll see the 2021 vital signs report on our website. So take a look at that if you haven't already. And when you're doing your application, for those of you who are familiar doing it, you always know that you're going to pick a vital signs statistic that you are going to base your applications on. Now you can do a maximum of 2. So for instance, if you had an environmental project that also had a health and wellness edge to it, you can pick both environment and health and wellness. So you have a maximum of 2 categories that you can pick in the vital signs on your grant application. All right, now, when our adjudicators read your application, they are tasked to keep our principles in mind as they decide on where our available funds should be allocated. When you're writing your grant, put yourself in their shoes, okay? Make sure you touch all the necessary points you need to, and to be clear in your language and intentions. Okay, so let's look at these principles together. The first one is alignment. Okay. Does the mission of your organization match the grant application you're submitting? Okay, mission. Okay, so think about your organization and what you're an expert at doing. Okay, if you've never delivered food to newcomers before, and your mission statement does not express that this is one of your mandates, then you should really ask yourself, why are you asking for a grant to do this? Okay, my advice to you is not to mission drift. That's what we talk about in our committees. Look at this. They look at an organization, they look at your mission statement, they see what you're an expert in doing, and does it match the grant that you're asking for? Okay, so again, my advice is don't mission drift. Stay to your strengths, your expertise, and chances are you'll be more successful in your grant applications. Okay, the next one is innovation. Our adjudication committee often read a number of applications that are meeting the needs of the community in a similar way, okay? Think about your organization and how you can approach the need in the community in a more efficient or innovative way. Okay, but remember, don't mission drift. Don't try to match something that you're not good at. Stay in your lane, ask for funding that you know how to deliver. Okay, and it can be in an innovative project. We're looking at innovation and something new. Okay, but it doesn't always have to be new. Again, if you have an application or you have a really great program and you're applying to support that program, but tell us why you're different than other people. Okay, and how you're affecting the community. Then you look at feasibility. Can your project be completed within 1 year of receiving your funding? And does your budget that you've submitted, is it cost effective? If your project takes a number of years to finish and you have chosen an expensive route to do it, chances are you're not going to be approved. Okay, so stay with that type of thinking. The project has to be finished within a year and it has to be cost effective. So, take a look at the cost that you're putting in your budget and make sure that, you're presenting the best cost to the application, because the adjudication committee does look at that. Okay, capacity. Do you have the resources to complete the project? Okay, if you have only one staff member and you're proposing a very complicated project that involves 10 people, you should ensure that you explain how to do this effectively. Remember, our granting committee is reading hundreds of applications, and you should write clear and reasonable explanations on your plans to deliver this type of project. So again, capacity. Do you have the capacity to deliver the project that you put forward? Impact. What impact will this project make on the community? Okay. Is this something Mississauga really needs? Okay, take a look at our vital signs. Okay, does it line up with a need that's been identified by the vital signs report? Okay, and does your research show that it's been identified as a need? How many people will it serve? How does it affect the lives of the individuals, families, and community at large? You'll find in our grant application that we're going to ask you those types of questions. Okay, and remember, grant applications are not always approved by, oh, we're going to serve 5,000 people, which are fantastic, and maybe you will. But if you're only serving 50 and it's a terrific program that's going to change the lives of these individuals and their families, that's also something that we really want to look at. Okay, so impact. Sustainability. Will your project be able to exist after our grant funding has been spent? Okay. What are your plans to continue this kind of work in the future to benefit the need in Mississauga? Okay. We know that sometimes, you're looking for grant money for a particular project and you're looking for that project for this year, obviously. But what are your plans to use that expertise going forward? That's what sustainable is all about. Okay, I hope that helps you. All right, now we're going to get into frequently asked questions. Okay, and these are ones that Mohsen and I and our granting committee often get questions about. Can two charities partner on one application? And I think I touched a little bit about that. Yes, two charities can partner. You could, again, the registered charity, one registered charity has to be the lead. You can have two charities applying in a particular grant. Like say if you put in an application, there's two charities working on a Pendle grant. That's fine. You put in a partnership agreement and you're working. You can also have a not-for-profit working with you, okay? But what you can't do is you can't have one of the charities also apply for a Pendle grant as well, okay? So if you're coming in as a partner, you've applied for a Pendle grant, you can apply for a Hazel grant or a children's grant. I always want to say small and caring children, okay? But yes, smart and caring children grant, or you can also do a Nova Nordis grant, but you can't have two in the Pendle grant. I hope that's helpful. Okay, can a not-for-profit organization apply for a grant? And yes, they can, but they have to partner with a registered charity. And you'll see the agreement in our portal. Again, remember in our old system, you downloaded that PDF from our website and then you filled it out. It was a very rudimentary Word document that you both signed. In the portal, you'll be able to see it in the portal, and then both your organizations will be able to collaborate on that agreement and complete it in the portal. So yes, a not-for-profit can apply, but remember they have to come in with a registered charity. Okay, does a grant to a project in 1 or multiple years in the past imply success for the same project in the future? No. Sometimes the committee has really liked a project for a number of years. Does it guarantee you success? No, it doesn't. Every year we look at all the grants that come in and we allocate the funds as best we can. So it doesn't mean that you're always going to get it. The program we are applying for funding for exists across Peel region, including Mississauga. Can we still apply for funding? And I think I touched on that before. Yes, you can apply for funding, but you are only applying for funding that affect the residents of Mississauga. So if your program goes across the region of Peel and you're looking after people in Brampton, Caledon, and Mississauga, make sure on your grant application that you identify who you are serving in Mississauga. This is something that happens year after year in applications. The committee also says they see that you're doing a Peel region project and they want to know the number of people you're serving in Mississauga. So make sure you identify that in your grant application. Okay, are late applications accepted? No. Again, community GLM system is going to have a hard close at that 5 o'clock and no applications will be accepted after that. Remember, you can work on your application right away, but it has to be submitted before the 5 o'clock. You will not be able to go back into it and add anything to it after that March 24th, 5 o'clock. Remember, take my advice, put in your calendar March 22nd. Okay, don't go to that last minute. I know it's hard. People want to change things and you've got other things you're doing, but it really breaks my heart every year when I see people working on things and they've missed the deadline. I mean, that's just something that we don't want to happen to you. And it always makes us sad because we can see the work that you're doing, and to not have it considered in the grant round is really heartbreaking for all of us. So get that application in on time. Can we apply to more than one grant stream? Yes, you can. We have 4 different grant streams. Remember, we've got the Pendle, we've got Hazel, we've got the Children, we've got Nova. You could put a project in each one of them, but again, it has to be an entirely different project, okay? You can't just say it has to be an entirely different project. What I've seen in the past is that people maybe put a different project title on it, but it's the same project, okay? So we read every word. So you really have to put in a different project to each one. And we will accept your organization filing in all 4 streams. Again, just make sure it's a different project. All right, so what happens next? Okay, so you're approved. Fantastic. Remember that there's a lot of applications and we always have more applications than we can approve. And it's difficult for us and our committees to go through all those applications, but we only have so many dollars, and it's always hard for us to decline applications, especially good applications. But please file, and we read every word. And if you're approved, we're going to send you a letter of congratulations. Okay, that congratulations is going to go to you and through our system, and you will receive through our system a request to file your electronic fund transfer information, you know, your void check, your banking information. You will also be asked to file an agreement. This is something that's a little bit different. In the past, if your grant was generally under $10,000, you did not require an agreement from us. In the new community GLM system, all approved grants will require a signed agreement. So you'll find an agreement presented to you in our GLM system, which you can electronically sign. And all the reports that are due will also be in the community GLM system. And we're going to give you the dates that when you're approved in 2023, the date that your report is required. And that will also be through our system. We're so excited about our system. Okay. Remember to acknowledge the grant in your marketing materials, website, social media. And you find on our website how to do that, the wording for it and the appropriate language for different sites. If you have any questions, please reach out to myself or Mosen. We've got a fantastic marketing person, Hershey, that has joined us, and we're all together promoting the great work that you're doing in the community. So remember to promote the fact that you've got a grant, and we also do that on our side. We're excited about the work that you're doing in Mississauga. Okay, and also consider inviting us for a site visit for your project. We love to come. We like to see projects as they're being delivered to the community, our dollars at work, and our community dollars at work, and the great work you're doing. So please reach out to us, and we would be happy to do a site visit. All right, so we're going to go over some of these dates again, because these are important. Wednesday, February 22nd, our grant round opens at 8 o'clock. Friday, March 24th, 5 o'clock, it closes. Final grant reports for the 2023 season, and you can tag it once you're approved. Your report is due on Friday, January the 26th, 2024 at 5 o'clock. And please send us photos and stories of your programs. We always like to know what's going on with your programs, and you don't always have to wait to that grant report due date. Okay, you can send them as you're doing it, because we're really happy to tweet those out and to promote all the great work that you're doing. All right, now we can take some questions. Now, Glenn, did you see any questions in the Q&A that you'd like to address?
We had one question about designated funds and whether charities have to apply for those funds or if they flow directly to a charity, and if they're invested in the same way as other donations are. So the answer, which I posted in the Q&A, the answer is yes, they're pooled and invested, and those funds, the granting is from the investment income. And charities do not have to apply for those grants. And so if a donor has created a designated fund for your charity, those grants are issued automatically every year. And same as a charitable endowed fund, you do not have to apply for those grants. They're issued automatically every year.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I see there was one other question in the chat, and I think we've answered that. Again, you can apply for in the different funding rounds as long as it's a different project. So I think we've answered that. Okay, does anyone else have any other questions? Please post them in the Q&A. Okay, so I don't see any right now, but we can go back. Oh, there's one that's popped out. Natasha is asking, are there any situations where donors don't want to fund something with another donor? Okay. I'm trying to understand your question, Natasha. Okay, I'm going to come back to that if you can give me a little more explanation. Okay, Cheryl is asking, can I use the same project from last season? Yes, you can. Okay. If you were approved last season, you might want to tell us how it's going to be different this season, if it is going to be different. Again, we do sometimes approve the same project in multiple years, but again, the committee's looking at lots of application, and it depends on how much money we have to go around and what we're going to support. But Cheryl, yes, you can. Okay. Basil is asking, can an organization can be for profit apply on behalf of a charitable organization? Okay, so Glenn, do you want to answer that? Because he's asking, it's a profit organization and they're applying on behalf of a charitable organization? Yeah,
so only charities can be the applicant for grants. And so a for-profit organization would not be able to apply for grants under any of our grant streams.
Okay. Natasha, I'm going to go back to your question, and I'm trying to interpret it. You're asking me if there's a situation where the donor doesn't want to fund something from another donor. Remember that your application has to be, oh, you've given me a little more information. Okay, like if it's a big project and they want to be a sole donor for the initiative, sometimes they want to expand the project and the $10,000 is too small for the larger setting. Okay, so if you have a really large project, and some of the projects come in, you know, $200,000, but you're only asking for $10,000 for a piece of that project, yes, you can apply for a piece of that project. I hope that answers your question. But again, look at what's eligible and ineligible in the grant application, and that should be able to answer your question. If you're still a little bit confused, then please reach out to us and we can answer your question by email. All right, so I think we're wrapped up with the questions. We can go to the next slide. All right, okay, so Mohsen's going to come back and he's going to talk about Community Services Recovery Fund.
All right, thank you. So just a quick reminder to everyone, we wanted to make sure all the organizations attending today remember that the Community Foundation of Mississauga is working with community foundations across Canada as part of the Community Services Recovery Fund. The Recovery Fund is a $400 million investment from the Government of Canada to support charities and nonprofits as they focus on how to adapt their organizations for pandemic recovery. The fund is a collaboration between Canadian Red Cross, Community Foundations of Canada, and United Way Centric Canada to provide funding to community service organizations, including nonprofit organizations, Indigenous governing bodies, and registered charities located in Canada. So you'll see the link in the chat shortly. Applications are open until February 21st. We highly encourage you to check out the details and apply as soon as possible, as this is a very important and timely initiative for the community as we recover from the impacts of the pandemic. Yeah, with that, we would like to thank everyone for attending today's session. We really look forward to this year's grant applications and unique projects. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to the grants team at grants@cfofm.org. Lorraine or Glenn, did you guys have any last comments before we leave?
Yes, just in closing, I'd like to thank the rest of our team behind the scenes, our invaluable Pauline Pabezma, she's fantastic, and our very creative, brand new marketing and communications coordinator, Hershey Rathod. Thank you so much for the work that you've done. And thank you for attending. We look forward to reading your grant applications and enjoy the rest of your Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Bye for now.